Refugee Boy by Benjamin Zephaniah.
Chapter 3. This is War. My name is Ellen Kalo. My age is 14. I'm from Africa. I was born in an area called Badme. Some people think this area is a part of Eritrea, and some people think this area is a part of Ethiopia. My father taught me that it was a part of Africa, and he said that there's no country in Africa that is bigger than Africa. In 1991, when the big war was over, I was 5 years old. My father and mother and I went to live in Asmara. Asmara is a large city, the capital of Eritrea. My mother said we moved there so I could go to a good school and they could get better jobs. I did go to a good school there. It was a big school, a strong building. My mother and father did get good jobs. My mother worked in a court, she was the clerk, and my father worked in a post office. My father can speak 6 languages: Arabic, Afar, Tigrinya, Italian, English, and Amharic. My mother can also speak these languages, but I can only speak Amharic, Tigrinya, and English. But I want to learn many more languages, and I want to make my English better. I did like Asmara. I had many friends there. But when I was 10 years old, we all went to live in Harar. Harar is in Ethiopia, high in the hills. The sun shines bright there, but it's very cool. I found a new school, and I had a good friend there. His name was Dawit. My mother found a new job in the bank, and my father was the manager of the biggest post office in the city. He was the most important person there, and if there were problems, everyone would have to come to him. We were happy living there until war broke out again, and we began to have problems. Some of the other children at school started to pick on me, not Dawit, but some others. And then one day my mother came home and said that she had lost her job because nobody did want to work with her. She said that the manager said she was causing too much trouble. The Ethiopian workers said that they are at war with Eritrea, so they'll not work with someone from Eritrea. She was very upset, and then some weeks later my father said the people at work said that he must leave my mother because she's Eritrean and she's the enemy. My father said no, and he kept on working there, but I think it was very difficult for him. Sometimes he came home from work and he didn't talk to us, and I think this is because he was having problems at work. And then, one night, when we were asleep, the police broke down the door of our house, and they began to break up the house. They broke all the tables and chairs, and they told us to get ready to leave in the morning because buses would be taking us back to Eritrea. My father told them that he was born in Ethiopia, so they said that if he loves Ethiopia he can stay, but me and my mother must go. My father says that he loves Ethiopia, he loves Eritrea, and he loves Africa. One policeman then asked my father who he would fight for, and my father said he would fight for peace. And then the policeman hit my father with his rifle, and my mother started to cry. When the police left, we stayed awake all night, and in the morning we went into the streets, and we could see lots of people in the streets, many of them crying and getting onto buses. My father went to talk to a man, and the man said he does not talk to traitors, and then the police said that we must get on the bus right away and go to Eritrea, and my father said no. Then one policeman pushed my mother on the floor, and my father got angry and shouted at him, and the policeman pointed the rifle in my father's face and told him that we have 15 minutes to go. So we went in our house and got as many things as we could. Then we got on the bus and we went to Eritrea. The bus was full of Eritreans. When we went to Eritrea, we stayed with my auntie. She's a sister of my mother. We'd been there for about 3 months. Then one day somebody was throwing some stones at my father when he was walking down the street. Then another day some women told my mother that she must leave my father and find a husband from Eritrea. In school in Eritrea, the children started picking on me again and calling me Ethiopian. And one day after school, some very big boys all started to beat me up when I was playing sport. They were very big, almost 20 years old. They beat my face and my stomach, and when I was on the ground, they just kept kicking me very hard. One boy said he was going to kick all the Ethiopian blood out of me. After this, my mother and father were always talking about what they could do. They said Eritrea and Ethiopia were at war, and our family is both Eritrean and Ethiopian. My mother said that we tried to live in both places and we always had problems. And then one day, it was my birthday, my father said I should have a holiday. He said that a holiday would make me happy and I'll forget the problems. My mother was trying to find a job. She said she would not come, so my father took me to Djibouti by bus, and from there we flew to Addis Ababa, and from there we flew to England. I was thinking that we came here for a holiday, so that I could practice my English and see the buildings, but my father left me here so that I will not die. Chapter 4. Asylum Seeking. When Alem stopped speaking, the room fell silent. Mariam had witnessed the Ethiopian-Eritrea war herself, and both she and Pamela had heard many horror stories of people fleeing war and persecution in the past, but they still found that no two stories were the same, and each new story they heard still touched them. Alem looked at them both and waited for a response, but there was none. "Have I said something wrong?" "No," Pamela said quickly. "No, not at all. You must say exactly what happened to you and your family. We need to know as much as possible about your experiences. Do you have any brothers or sisters?" "No," said Alem, shaking his head. "Do you have any friends or family in England?" Mariam asked. Alem continued shaking his head. "No." Mariam looked towards the photo. "Is that your mother and father?" "Yes." "Your mother looks like a wise woman," Mariam said, stretching forward to get a better view without leaving the chair. "And she's beautiful." The photo was a posed one. Alem was seated on a chair with his mother and father standing behind him. His mother was dressed in a bright orange flowered dress that would have looked very out of place in inner-city Britain. Her shoulders were draped with a light green scarf. Her face was dark and slim with a slightly pointed chin and gently smiling lips. Large earrings hung from her ears, and her hair was plaited close to her head in rows going from the front to the back. "You look like a great family. There's a lot of love in that photo," Mariam observed. "Do you have a phone back home?" "No," Alem said, looking at the photo. "That's fine. Enough for now," said Mariam. "One last question," Pamela said as she stood up. "Do you want something to eat?" "Yes," said Alem, hesitantly. "What kind of food would you like?" she continued. "Italian, Italian," Alem said, with a hint of a smile on his face. Pamela was a little surprised. "Italian?" she said, looking towards Mariam. "If the man says he wants Italian, then the man gets Italian," Mariam insisted. She looked around the room. There wasn't much in the way of personal belongings. "How much luggage do you have?" "Only one bag," Alem replied. "One small bag." "Well," Mariam said, "you have to leave this hotel today, so what we'd like to do is pack your bag now and come with us. The first thing we'll do is to go and find some Italian food, and then we'll take you back to our office. At the office we'll work out a plan and get you somewhere to stay." Alem went to the wardrobe, got his bag, and put his few items of clothing in it. Then he went round the room and collected the photo and his school books and put them away too. He went to the bathroom and collected his toiletry bag and put that in his bag before zipping it up. The whole packing process took less than 5 minutes.